Welcome to the It's Been Said podcast. I'm your guest host, SAI Associate Executive Director, Professional Learning, Dana Schon. Today, I get the honor of visiting with our SAI retiring Executive Director, Lisa Remy. We will be discussing Lisa's leadership journey, her experience leading our professional membership association, and her plans for the future. Lisa, thanks for letting us turn the tables for this episode.
Well, you're very welcome.
We really didn't give you
Uh,
much choice. So,
right.
right. So here you are with us.
Here we are.
Yes, here we are. Well, as you think back on these past 4 years, has the journey been mostly a day at the beach, a kayaking trip down a winding river, a hike through the mountains, or a cross-country road trip?
Well, I can't just pick one. Is that okay? I've got two. So I would say both a beach and a kayaking trip. So from a beach perspective, really it's mostly been sunny, enjoyable, pleasant, I would say, calming, from thinking about my previous life as a superintendent, but also some waves and what those waves have been. I liken it to either system changes that we have made in the association and or the waves seem to happen when I think broadly about the work between January and May for a variety of reasons. So that's why the beach, because there's some waves and opportunities there. The kayaking trip, I think about, well, one, I just love water in general. So both of them kind of spoke to me that way. But when you kayak, you're kind of going curves and you're not a straight line typically, or at least how my kayaking goes. And I think about the different, the role really required me to think differently than I did as a superintendent. Rourke had shared with me, you have to remember it's a business, so you have to think like a business. And so trying to understand what that meant, yet making sure that we're staying in service of our members and giving what our members what they need, and not only thinking dollars and cents as a business when I think about that. So, kind of that winding path of, yes, we have to make sure we stay solvent, but also how are we supporting our members and giving them what they need, which may sometimes, take some of those financial resources but yet for good reason.
Well, I'm always interested in the magic money drawer and
Yeah.
full of different requests, Lisa. So I appreciate your thoughtfulness in making sure we remain solvent in the midst of requests for different things like chatbots and equipment, those sorts of things.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
You talk about the transition from superintendent to executive director. What did you think the job would be? And then how did the reality of the experience differ from that initial expectation that you held?
hmm Well, you know this because we've talked about it, but I don't know if many of our members would or listeners. But it took me a long time to decide to apply for the role. I spent several times having conversations with Rourke. I served on the rep council and executive committee, so I had somewhat of a sense of the role, but I also knew that you never really know until you sit in the seat. So I thought if I could keep picking Rourke's brain about what the role is, that would help me determine if I should apply or not, if it's something that I felt my skill set could really match, right? Align with the needs of the organization. And so I felt like I had a pretty good idea of what the role was. Of course, it's differed just a little bit. It's when you come in, and maybe it's more my personality. I'm a doer. And so while we're small, a lot of the doing happens with others in the organization, of our colleagues. And so there were times I was like, well, I've got time. I could help with that, especially when you come in July and July up to conference, there's a lot to be done. And so it took me a little bit of time to understand when I can insert myself in some of that and what doesn't make sense for me to. really the idea of the role and supporting members, supporting the role of the organization through advocacy, professional learning, that piece really hadn't differed. I didn't give myself probably enough grace initially to not knowing everybody across the state. You know, when you have 2,200 members, you don't know everybody. And so wanting to really make sure that I could connect with people. So that was harder than I thought it was going to be. And then something that really differed in conversations, both with Rourke and then others in executive director roles like mine of organizations across the state, trying to really have a sense of what that meant for collaboration with other state organizations. It definitely is not the same as what it previously was. And so that has differed a lot and made the role just a little more challenging in the sense of really supporting members in those areas when it's not something that we're in charge of, but yet we get questions about. And so, and when that collaboration with some of those other organizations isn't as strong as it once was, just makes that a little bit more difficult. So,
Yeah, you're really speaking to the heart of the work of an association, and public education has faced plenty of headwinds lately. Was there a
yeah.
specific moment over the last 4 years where you thought this is exactly why this association work matters?
I've thought about that. There's probably, I don't know if there's just one specific one. I think about every interaction I've had with members, whether it's been a phone call, through coaching, working with some of my coachees at events that we have. And so those individual conversations or small group conversations, each one of those reminds me of how important our association is to support and be in service of our members and to really encourage them to continue. As you said, the headwinds that come their way, it's really been more difficult over the since longer than even my time here, my 4 years, but it's really gotten even more complex, I believe. I think of some of the legislation, that's probably what really comes to mind, and how important it is for us to have been at the Capitol to try to help make some interesting legislation a bit better, knowing that it was going to pass. It was a priority. So, how can we make that the best possible legislation for our schools? And then once things pass, just helping them understand what it means and supporting them through the implementation phase.
Yeah, I'm noticing when we talk about our members, we're both smiling because it's such a blessing and a gift to be in these roles. I love our people so much, and I know you feel the same. And I love seeing
Yep.
that smile on your face when we talk about our members. Um, if you had a story to tell that perfectly captures the DNA or the spirit of SAI, what comes to mind?
Well, and I know the question's really asking for a specific story. And I could talk about, my time. I think about any time I've been out across the state, whether it's at superintendent meetings or at our district meetings. One of the things I always hear as positive feedback is how no matter who it is in our organization, so any one of our eight, how responsive we are. They appreciate that not only do we have a live person answering the phone when they call, but that if we don't know an answer, we get back to them in a timely fashion. So it truly, when you think about what our organization, the mission, vision that we have to be in service of our members, and I know I feel like a broken record, but that's truly the DNA of the association and of every single person who works here. And what that is, that's why it was like a beach, because, everybody who works here believes in the work that we do and wants to make sure that we are making our members' lives more, easier. We encourage them, um, support them in whatever they need. So that's the DNA of SAI.
Yeah, I love that. And I totally agree. That's certainly been my experience when I think about our staff and our team and how we all feel about the people that we get to serve and support.
Mhm. Which honestly,
Uh,
Dana, made it easy for me to even think about applying, right? So having been a member
mhm.
previously, knowing who, and personnel has changed just a tad bit since I started, but knowing who worked here made it easy to say, that's a team I'd like to be a part of for that
Yeah.
very reason.
Well, thanks. I love that.
Yeah.
It's been super fun, that's for sure. So as we're talking a little bit about staff, what is something about the inner workings of SAI that would surprise even our most veteran members?
This was a difficult question for me to think about because I don't know what for sure would surprise them. But I wonder if, so here's something that surprised me, I guess. So I attended many conferences, annual conferences, and I understood that there's work that goes into putting on a conference. I didn't really understand, though, until I was on this side of the table,
Mhm.
how many small decisions there are to make. And I don't want to say agonize, but that's the word that's coming to my mind right now. Um, Thoughtful is probably a better word. How thoughtful we are about each of those decisions, because what we want is to ensure that the event, the annual conference, is something that our members will appreciate, feel like they, can take something back to their districts. And so there's a lot that goes into ensuring that we have high quality content, speakers, you know, time for networking, our exhibitors, all of that. And then not even just that large event, but each event that we have throughout the year. We are always being thoughtful about, is this still relevant? Is it what our members need? If it's not, what do they need? Taking that feedback from them. So I think just the amount of thought that goes into everything that we do to ensure that it's really high quality for our members, no matter what they're coming to.
You corrected from agonized to thoughtful, and I would say there we do agonize on occasion because I agree, you hit it on the head. We want our people to have an amazing experience when they are with us, and we we do think about things to the very last detail to ensure that people have that best possible experience when they come together. So yeah,
Mhm.
that is an interesting, perhaps surprising piece of conference and every other experience, as you noted. All right, Lisa, what moment over the last 4 years made you laugh the hardest?
Know if there's one moment, Dana. I appreciate at staff meetings, we can laugh at each other there. I appreciate even when we've gone to lunch together. Like those are probably some of the most fun times, is just when we leave the office, be able to have lunch together, all of us. And, you know, yeah, we still talk work a little bit, but mostly we're talking about personal things and laughing. But you probably won't be surprised. I think about one of the pieces, and it doesn't matter if it's during a rep council meeting or at a new administrator institute. When you and Matt kind of go at each other as siblings, that makes me chuckle because of the relationship that you both have and that you can do that. And um, yeah, so
Yeah, he's the little brother. I have three sisters, so I always say he's the naughty, ornery, annoying, pesky little brother that I didn't ever have. So yes.
yeah, yeah. So all of those, I mean, we've just, even, just when we're all in the office and those impromptu times that we might just be chatting in the hallway about something related to work, but then we veer off and, hear the laughter and the conversation. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. Good memories.
So, yeah.
You've spent 4 years traveling the state and doing a lot of listening. What have you learned from Iowa's school leaders about resilience?
Well, how important it is, right, as a leader to be resilient. And I would say it's, even more so, it's harder now, I think, to be resilient because of all that's coming at them. And politics hasn't helped. The political environment, that landscape has really made it challenging to stay positive and to sometimes even renew from some of that's coming at our leaders. But what's what I keep thinking about is I've seen time and time again where our leaders have adapted, they've grown, they've even at times had to, probably I would use the term, recover from some of that's come at them. And that's what makes them resilient, because they can adapt, they can grow, they can recover from the adversity that they may be faced with. And I think what, as a resilient leader, what they're utilizing to be able to adapt and grow and recover is problem solving skills, right? Really thinking through, okay, this is challenging. What do I need to do? Who might help me through this concern or opportunity that I have? And then, we're all human, so we have emotions. So really trying to think through those strong emotions that come with that. But that's what helps us continue to be resilient and our leaders be resilient, I believe.
Yeah, I think as you're sharing, I'm just so inspired and motivated by the leaders that we get to support. And
Mhm.
your explanation of resilience just speaks to why that's true.
We're pausing for a brief commercial break. We'll be right back to continue our conversation. Stick around.
Hi, I'm Matt Carver, Legal Services Director at SAI. One of the benefits you receive as a member of SAI is to have a privileged conversation with me about your pressing legal issues. While I don't replace your district's legal counsel, I do my best to provide friendly and practical advice for you as a member. If you are a member, simply call the SAI office at 515-267-1115 and ask for Matt. If you aren't a current member, join or renew today at www.sai-iowa.org.
And now, back to our conversation on leadership.
SAI and you in particular have a unique position, unique vantage point, being able to see that statewide perspective. And from that lens, what do Iowa's principals and superintendents need more of right now? And not just from the state, but from each other.
Yeah, I'm glad you said from each other, because we're also very busy, and we talk about and we hear about behavior, student behavior, sometimes even adult behavior. So it makes it really challenging for our leaders to focus on themselves, their own learning, which may require them to leave their building so that they can really, grow their own skills. And so I believe leaders really need networking with each other, collaboration with each other, just time where they are focused on their own growth and development. Because as leaders, we're always supporting the growth and development of students or staff members. And at times, yes, we may grow through some of that support, but it's not really supporting our own growth and development. And I really think everybody needs to get back to thinking, prioritizing themselves, I guess, and doing that through the networks that they have, the collaboration with others, and just learning from each other.
Yeah, thanks.
Mhm.
All right, I have a prompt for you to finish. To Lisa Remy, leadership is.
Mhm. It's the ability to inspire, influence, and serve others. And that would be whether that's helping people, or now after, I would have thought about people mostly, but then also organizations, and whether that's a district as an organization, community, or, for example, SAI as a membership organization. But it really is that the ability to influence, inspire, and serve others, in my opinion.
Yeah, I love that. I love your specifics around serving individual members or individual teachers, staff members, principals, admin team, and the collective, the
Mhm.
district as a whole or the building as a whole. that really resonates with me. What gives you hope about the future of school leadership?
What gives me hope is that we still have people raising their hand to say, hey, I want to be a school leader, right? Even with, we all know, as I talked about previously, the challenges or opportunities that public schools and leaders are faced with. People are still saying, hey, I want to go back. I want to get my admin degree. And the reason they want to do that, or at least what I hear when I'm talking to people, is because they want to serve students, right? They believe in really helping kids be the best that they can be after their pre-K through 12 and preparing them for life, and believe in the power of public education. I truly believe that our communities are strong because our public schools are strong. Our public schools are strong because so it's a uh, both and. We have people who are committed to stepping up to be leaders, supporting the kiddos that are the future of our community. So that's what gives me hope, that people are still
Yeah,
saying, yes, I want to be a leader.
yeah, that's great. And we've had such great response to our aspiring administrator sessions that Al Nepal has been facilitating for us. And that is evidence to the statement you're making around the hope that we have for the future.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. When your colleagues and our members think of your 4-year tenure, what is the one stamp you hope you have left on SAI?
This one's hard for me because it's not just me. I think it's, again, our team, right? So it's not just Lisa Remy who has said X or let's do this. It's our team believes it's right to do for our members. So serving our members. So I really do believe that, I hope what people think about is that actions that we took were in response to what we heard. So we listened in order to serve our members. So, and or we also introduced new ideas. So we heard feedback from members and we adjusted, or we said, hey, this is coming and our leaders need to know about it. And so, for example, AI and chatbots, or how can you use AI appropriately, ethically. So bringing new ideas to leaders so that they can grapple with and think about, but mostly just the importance of relationships, being in service of. And yes, there were things like our different corporate partner structure that's been great. But the reason why I even mention that is because it's allowed us to bring some non dues revenue into the association to help support the high quality programming that we want to have for our members. So really, I hope what they think about is that we are continually in service of them and adjusting and changing to the needs that they have.
Yes, Lisa, I'm remembering you coming back from an event saying, oh my gosh, we have these two amazing speakers on AI. We've got to do this. And we move that forward. So definitely you've had your, ear to the ground and eyes up on the horizon, and certainly identified things, whether it's AI, whether it's the chatbot, whether it's the corporate partner program, reinvention of our executive leaders into Soup Collaborative. I would say you have a collection of stamps that you have spearheaded, and as you noted, certainly a team effort, but it's you at that helm, and seeing that and then supporting that movement through the association.
Thank you.
So aside from a slower pace, what are you most looking forward to in this upcoming season of life?
Well, this won't surprise you, but exercising at a more reasonable time in the morning. So
I'm so jealous of you that you actually have the stamina and discipline to get up at 4 in the morning to go get your exercise in. I don't think people would not want to be around me if that were a choice I were making. It would not be pretty at SAI.
So that will be, I'm looking forward to more like a 7 or 7:30 type versus the 5 a.m. time. But really just spending time with family. As you know, we have a new grandson, and he's now 8 months old, which is, gosh, time flies. And so just being able to spend time with him and his parents as much as they'll allow us to, and even my husband, right? Like being able to take walks, or if we decide, hey, it's a beautiful day, let's go ride bikes. And I say do whatever and not have to be so follow a schedule.
Mhm.
I also recognize that's going to be hard for me because I'm a schedule kind of person. So my husband's really worried about how this is going to work
I
for
bet Wayne has
for
some
him.
concerns. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he has been retired for a little bit and enjoying the unobligated life to some extent, although he's coaching.
Yes. Yes. Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
5 years. Five
Yeah.
years. So
That's great. That's great. All right, Lisa, last question. And you mentioned Jack already. So your grandson, Jack, is only 8 months old. Let's say he finds this recording 20 years from now and listens to his grandmother's voice. What is the one truth about life or service you hope he hears?
yeah, I really hope I think you've heard me and others have heard me say this, the importance of relationships, and whether that's family, friends, or most, as important at work too, right? So I'll never forget one of my UNI professors said to me, Lisa, you'll be successful as an administrator if you prioritize three things: relationships, relationships, relationships. And that has been true for me. That has been, as I look back, from the time I was a teacher with relationships with kids to that final being a superintendent in a public school, relationships with the board, communities, teachers, then it's vast. To now, just trying to foster those relationships with administrators across the state and our own team here at SAI. So, and other state organizations as well. But that's what I hope he would hear, is just how important relationships are and how that can help you be successful in whatever you choose to do in life.
Well, Lisa, thank you. On
Yeah.
behalf of our SAI team, I want to express our deep gratitude for your dedicated and consistent leadership. I know I'm not speaking just for myself. You've challenged and empowered each of us to grow in our roles and always in service of our members. In my 14 years here at SAI, I've seen firsthand people who pour their time and talent into this association don't just leave a legacy, they really raise the bar for everyone who follows. And Lisa, you've really done exactly that and then some. I want to thank you for all that you've committed to SAI. I'm going to miss you. The impact you've made on the organization and on each of us, me personally, is really part of who we are. So to everyone out there, thank you for joining us in celebration of Lisa, and thank you all for listening to the SAI podcast.